Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's back? What's up, boxing fans? Welcome to the channel. So we're going to get into this breaking news. It was a Sun that reported this news initially of Kell Brook allegedly sniffing a white coloured powder off a glass table at a party at his home. Obviously, it's been alleged that the powder was cocaine, and it's starting to surface on the news on the internet at the moment. It's not that big yet, but it's news that's actually breaking. I didn't really want to do a video about it because I am a fan of Kell Brook, and I like Kell Brook, and I really want the best for him. But I feel like it's something that's going to be all over the web anyway, and I think it would be good to talk about it, because people are going to talk about it anyway. It seems to be that he has been seen at a party taking drugs. Now, his manager apparently has come out and said that it was a joke. Pretty see-through. It's pretty obvious that his manager is trying to save face, save his career from any damage because of this. And, it could potentially be damaging, especially for Kell Brook's return to the ring. We all know that he's in talks about coming back to the ring, and apparently he may come back against a high profile name. He's looking to actually come back against either Chris Eubank Jr. or Liam Smith, and they were some of the names mentioned. And obviously, if the news about him taking drugs surfaces and gets too big, it may affect any fight that he may have coming up. Maybe he won't get a fight because of it. So his manager is doing a lot of damage control, obviously. This is kind of sad to see, really. For me, I've always been a Kell Brook fan. I like the guy. I like his persona. He always gives 110% in the ring. And, he trains like an animal. He fights like an animal. He's been very successful. I think he's had 43 fights, won 40 fights. Very successful. Perhaps didn't get as far as he could have, maybe, but he ended on a really positive note. A great night of boxing when he defeated his foe, his main competitor, which was Amir Khan. A fight that was a long time in the making, and they finally got it on. And Kell Brook looked absolutely amazing in that fight. And when I saw him in that fight, I felt like he could carry on, but he actually retired. And since he's retired, a lot of things have been going on with him. He's had a few interviews where he just looked very dejected and very depressed. He actually said out of his own mouth that he feels like a part of him has died, and he looked that way. And I think Kell Brook is the kind of person, a little bit like Tyson Fury, if he's not kept busy, if he hasn't got something to aim for, like a training camp, he goes off the rails. He's this kind of character. If he hasn't got something to focus on, having his wife and kids is not enough. For some people, having your family is enough to keep you grounded. For other people, there are certain people who need to be active. They need to be doing stuff. They need to have a goal. And if they don't have that, especially something that they've been doing their whole life, like boxing, they go off the rails. They party all night, which I can tell Kell Brook is the kind of person who probably falls into this category. Hang out with the wrong crowd, eventually get into drinking, get into drugs, get overweight. I think Kell Brook is a person who will lose his discipline if he's not focused on a goal. I mean, I could be reaching, but he just strikes me as that character. I've been watching him for a while, and from what I've seen, especially he's from a kind of a tough area and had a very tough, kind of turbulent upbringing as well, being adopted and all sorts of things, being in some rough company. I just feel like he's a person who needs a goal. And the minute he retired is, the minute he kind of started to spiral out of control, perhaps. So I'm not surprised that he's now been seen allegedly taking drugs. Is it a habit? I don't know. Who knows how long he's been taking it? It's obviously something that he's taken before. if these alleged things are true, is it a big factor in his life? Even that this whole news, I think, is going to be extremely damaging because apparently his family were out of the house at the time. So it's obviously something that, if it's true, he's been hiding from his wife and his family. And now this video that's come out, I can only imagine how damaging it's going to be. But having said all that, personally, like I said, I've always been a fan. I'm here to say positive things about Kell Brook, I feel like from where Kell Brook has come from, the area that he's come from, being in boxing since a young child in the ring in the Ingle gym, achieving all these things and then suddenly retiring, you're going to have, these kind of things are going to happen to you. He's just a normal person, Boxing was his life, and when you retire, it's like you retire from life, So if this is true, if the footage is true, I got a lot of my heart goes out to what he might be going through. I've got nothing but positive things to say about him. I think, like I said, he's had a difficult time. How do you cope when your whole life you've been doing something and then you retire from it? It's very difficult. I think it's very difficult. And also, I think that, whoever filmed him in his personal house having a party, I think there were some real kind of scumbag characters around these celebrity boxers. Why would someone do something like that? End of the day, can he not just have a bit of fun in his house, without someone filming it and leaking it to the press? Now it's all over the newspapers and stuff like that. No one really cares about your family or how it's going to affect your life. So I feel for him, and I'm not, like I said, I've got nothing positive things to say. I'm not going to be one of these people condemning him at all. He gave a great performance against Amir Khan, and after every really high, after there's a really big high, there's always a really big low, and I think this might be what we're seeing. Him taking drugs, if this is what he was doing, then I think this might be his low. And I'm not surprised that he's trying to do everything he can to get back, to get a fight and get back in the ring, because that's when he feels probably his most useful. That's when he feels like he's got a goal, he's got an aim, and that's when life is probably at its most meaningful. Without that, like I said, I think he goes off the rails. He's not the first person, so it's not a surprise. If you look at Tyson Fury, world heavyweight champion, lineal champion, unbeaten, it still wasn't enough to stop him from completely going off the rails into depression and wanting to commit suicide. So we have to be a little bit understanding and respectful of these boxers. They live their life. Think about it. They perform in front of the world. They win in front of the world when they have glorious nights. They lose in dramatic fashion in front of the world. And the whole world sees them get knocked out and things like that. And they're warriors, but end of the day, they're people just like us. And, there's a lot of people who are not famous who have breakdowns and who take drugs and things like that. And no one talks about them because they're not famous. So, just because Kell Brook is in the public eye, it's not fair for us to judge him. I wouldn't judge him. I hope that he hasn't got a problem with drugs. I don't know. I think it's a bit below the belt for someone to film him and sell the news to the papers and, to talk about someone like this who's got family and children. But that's what they've done, and that's what they're doing. And I just hope Kell Brook can come out of this in a good light. I hope he can come out of this. End of the day, like I said, he's just a normal person who can make a mistake just like anybody else. But just to emphasize the positive side of it, I would like to see Kell Brook come back in the ring. I know some people say that it's not good to come back because he left on a high and he left on a good note, but I think the right fights for Kell Brook could be great. And if he does come back, he doesn't have to go for title fights and champions and try and get win belts again. You could just go for big fights that people want to see. If he wants to go down that road, someone who's retired but they want to stay active, he could either do exhibition fights or he could just go for big fights, like fun fights that people want to see, but it's not necessarily, trying to get the belt or something. There's lots of fights out there. I would still watch because Kell Brook looked so good in his last fight against Amir Khan. I would still watch him fight, Danny Garcia at 154 pounds. That was a fight that didn't happen. I would still watch that. I think other people would watch a fight between him and Danny Garcia. A fight with him and Keith Thurman, that never happened. I'd love to see that. I would tune in and watch that fight because those two would go right at it. I would watch a fight with him and obviously Liam Smith. I would still watch a fight with him and Chris Eubank. I would watch a fight with him and Conor Benn. He's still a draw for me. And I know a lot of people might say, what you're talking about, he's finished. Well, he didn't look very finished against Amir Khan. You know what I mean? I think that he's still a draw. Maybe not for the title, the titles, trying to make another, trying to get another shot at the titles at 154 if he came back, trying to fight Charlo or, or rematches with Terence Spence and Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. He doesn't need to do that. He doesn't need to fight the young lions necessarily like Jamal Ennis and stuff like that. He still could, but I don't think he needs to fight that competitive because I think he's on the wrong side, of the 30s and fighting Jamal Ennis and all these up-and-coming people, Virgil Ortiz. I think these people beat him and they beat him quite badly because he's an older guy now and it would affect his health, But I would still watch him in fun fights like the ones that I've mentioned where, they're both similar age and they're going to give us great fights, and if it means that Kell Brook's mental health is going to benefit from getting these fights and his profile is going to be, higher, and if the opposite is him not doing anything and he's going to mix with the wrong company and get into, crazy nights of alcohol and drugs, I'd prefer to see him in the ring. So let me know what you think. Do you think anything positive can come out of this whole story? I mean, this whole negative story about him and drugs. I mean, he's just a normal man, just a normal person in the public eye who's given his whole life to boxing. So, I think we should cut in some slack and wish him well. I think we should wish him well. If he has got a drugs problem, then I feel very sorry for him. I want him to beat his drugs issue if he does have a drug problem, But if he doesn't, I want to see him back in the ring. If he wants to come back in the ring, I want to see him back in the ring. If he wants to stay retired, I would like to see him retired, but I don't want to see him retired and getting in with the wrong company and drugs and overweight and alcohol. And I could see him being someone who would indulge in all of those things. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Would you like to see Kell Brook back in the ring? If so, who would you like to see him fight? I mentioned a few fighters there. Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman. You know what? I would love to see a fight that didn't happen between him and Mayweather. If Mayweather was going to come back against someone half decent, who's going to give him a test, and people would really get up for, because people are kind of sick of these exhibitions, let's face it. We don't want to see no more Floyd exhibitions. This would be a great fight. It's not 100% competitive like fighting Errol Spence or Terence Crawford, but it's a level below that, and it's a level that, Mayweather could, take a fight with Kell Brook. That would be a fight people would still watch, People would still watch Manny Pacquiao. If Manny Pacquiao want to come out of retirement and fight Kell Brook, people would watch that. So I just don't think Kell Brook's boxing career has to be finished. He's not like someone like, let's say, Amir Khan, who hasn't had a really good win for a long time, and I don't think people want to see Amir Khan come back as much as they would want to see Kell Brook. Kell Brook has not really been beaten so badly that it wasn't competitive. Kell Brook's never been in a fight that wasn't competitive. He was competitive against Errol Spence. I think the only fight that he wasn't competitive against was Terence Crawford, to be honest. But in every other fight, he was not annihilated. Even against Golovkin, he wasn't annihilated. It's always been competitive fighter, very strong, skilled, fast, And I would love to watch him again. So I wish him nothing but the best. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm on to the next one. Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's back?